Okay, so we reached the year of 2025. We finally reached the end of the year. So we're gonna do a Claxton Law year wrapped. Let's see what happened in the year 2025. First of all, I want to say we made it. We're alive. We survived. But a lot of things have happened, good and bad. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Like I said, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So well, let's see. Let's go into from the beginning. We saw changes. Although we've seen changes, we've also seen a lot of pushback. So it's not like this administration came in and they wanted to do all these things. The difference I would say between like Trump the first time and Trump this time is that the first time he had more people, I think, in his cabinet that were kind of like holding him back and saying, you can't do this, you can't do that. I feel like this time he just kind of like does not care. Right. So in terms of immigration, it's been very difficult, challenging, and I think that applies to all the departments. So I have with me today my two favorite attorneys, Daliana Gomez and attorney Carl Pierre. So attorney Daliana Gomez and attorney Carl Pierre have been with us for over a year. So they have experienced the full breadth of 2025.
Yes, indeed.
And they've experienced the highs and the lows, going to court, going to USCIS, going to interviews, and all the craziness that comes with that. So we're just going to talk a little bit about what happened in 2025 in the world of immigration. And then at the end, we're going to talk a little bit about our own personal experiences, what we have gone through, because we also have had some good news. So in the beginning of the year, well, first of all, I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. I'm sorry about that. So I'll start with Daliana. Daliana, introduce yourself if for those who don't know you.
Well, thank you, Diane. I'm attorney Daliana Gomez. I'm originally from Colombia, and I'm an attorney there. I'm also an attorney licensed to practice in New York, and I've been working in immigration law for over 4 years now. I think it'll be 5. And I've been at Claxton Law for over a year now. And as Diane was saying, we have experienced the change from one administration to the other, and all the ups and downs and all the changes that have arose during this administration. Yeah, it's been crazy. We have had a lot of work. Yes.
And then I'll let attorney Carl Pierre introduce himself, and then we're going to get started. Go ahead, Carl.
Sure. My name is Carl Pierre. I am attorney Carl, and I am originally from Brooklyn, New York, hailing from Canarsie in Brooklyn. I am of Haitian descent. Both my parents born and raised in Haiti, and shared the culture with me. So I definitely identify as being a Haitian American here in the U.S. Working out of North Carolina, barred in New Jersey, taught law in New York, former criminal magistrate here in Charlotte, North Carolina. So with this firm, we come with a lot of different experience in our backgrounds, so that we can best assist the clients. And it's just been a pleasure working so far with the immigrant community.
Yes. So I was saying, with immigration law, when you guys started with us, I said immigration is not for the faint of heart, because it's never boring. There's so many changes. So, I mean, in the beginning of the year, I already knew it was going to be a big change, but I think we're just going to like kind of go through the year chronologically and talk about what changes we've seen. And I want to say the biggest thing for me was CBP1. Like when he ended CBP1, I already knew that was coming, but it was like at 12 sharp when he got sworn in, the doors closed. So I know people that had their appointments for like later that day, and the appointments got canceled. So, contrary to what the propaganda says, like, oh, we were letting all types of people in, CBP1 was actually a very organized way for people to come in because people had to make the appointment in advance. There were people waiting months. I know people waiting 8 months in Mexico who patiently waited for their appointment instead of crossing the border illegally. And then they would go through an interview process with a Customs and Border Patrol officer. It was a very orderly process. I think it was the most orderly I've seen at the border. You know, I don't know ever that, and then everything was just like canceled. They're like, all these illegals coming in, and I know for a fact it wasn't that easy because I remember I have a client who came in with his wife and his kids, and he had like one incident where when he was a teenager that he got arrested, and it wasn't even that he committed a crime. He was defending a friend of his who was getting beaten up by the police. And because of that, they didn't let him in. So it wasn't easy to come in through CBP1, but that was the first big change that I noticed. So I want to know, what did you guys notice in the beginning of the year that kind of changed it, where you were like, okay, we're not in Kansas anymore? So let me know what you guys feel like. What was like a big change? You're like, oh my God, like, you know, this just like completely changed the game for you. Let me know.
Well, I'll go first. I think one huge change was let's say the changes on TPS designation and how especially Venezuelans and the Haitian community were like targeted by the administration regarding TPS, because they have been in a limbo, like they were in a limbo for so long. As you were saying at the beginning, it was like every change is this administration was trying to do it very fast. Thankfully, we have in the US the check and balances, and well, not everything could happen as fast as the government wanted to. But I think that was a huge trend, because we know country conditions in these countries haven't really changed, and it's not safe for immigrants to return to those countries. So the change or ending the temporary protective status it was a major change for all of our clients and the immigrant community.
Yeah, definitely, because as you said, the situation not only it hasn't gotten better, it's kind of gotten worse, because people in Venezuela are to the point where you can't even protest anymore. Like back in the day, you could protest. Now it was like they come to your house and are dragging people out of their homes. So it used to be maybe they would attack you in the protest, or if they found you leaving a protest. It didn't have to be like, now it's like, if they even post if you post something online, you could get arrested in Venezuela right now. That's how oppressive this regime is. So it was kind of shocking. And the thing that really surprised me about that is because a lot of Venezuelans actually supported this administration. And I thought, that just for that reason alone, that he was not going to take away TPS and kind of go after the Venezuelan community, because you have in Miami and a lot of places, they voted for this administration. And the reason for that, I understand, is because many of them like associate maybe the Democratic Party as being maybe more similar to the Socialist Party, and they're coming from a socialist regime. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of Cubans vote to the right, because they're thinking like, oh, communists, maybe the Democrats are more communist, and that's the reason why. And I know a lot of Cubans and Venezuelans felt betrayed by this administration, because a lot of Cubans are getting deported as well. So I personally was not shocked, because I think that, like the great poet Maya Angelou says, she says, when people tell you who they are, believe them.
Yes.
Don't make excuses for them. And he's been saying the same type of things about immigrants for years and years. So I don't fully understand why people didn't believe him, but I did. But anyway, so I think some people thought also, this is another big thing. A lot of immigration attorneys who work more in the business side thought that they were not going to be affected. They thought that it was going to be more like maybe just the people that work with asylum defense, like litigation, removal defense, and maybe even like family type cases. But the people on the business side have been suffering as well.
Yes.
Immigration has been suffering as well. I think the biggest thing was the H-1B visas. So I know someone personally who got approved for his H-1B visa, thank God, before this big change took place. But everybody who is getting an H-1B visa after September 2025, they're going to have to pay $100,000 fee. I mean, the fee just went up like astronomically. Supposedly because they're trying to protect the American worker, but I don't really know if that's true, because a lot of the jobs that H-1B workers do, because this is usually like a high level type of job. These are like people that are engineers, software engineers, people working in Google, Apple. They're usually jobs that are technical and you have to be highly educated, and they're usually positions where there's not a lot of people in the United States that can do these jobs, and that's why they're given these positions. So I don't believe that it's like they're taking jobs away from the American worker, but I know a lot of immigration attorneys that maybe work more with business have been suffering from that as well, but also RFEs. The big complaint I heard is they're getting a lot of RFEs. What is an RFE? It's a request for evidence. So no attorney likes to get a request for evidence from USCIS. If you guys know, that means you're like, because if you don't respond to that request for evidence, your case could get denied. So that's the biggest thing I've heard from immigration attorneys, maybe that focus on business. They too are kind of getting hit hard with this. So, so there's more things that happened around the year, but go ahead if you guys want to mention anything else that kind of surprised you throughout the year.
Sure. Definitely the increase in ICE presence in different locations. So like specifically in the courtrooms, at schools, at churches, places that were once considered, sanctuary, that it was a safe place to be, and that it was off limits, that they wouldn't come here, they wouldn't meet you here, 100%. With a warrant, come to your house. But that increase was something that was very surprising to me for the most part. And just to see that ICE was arresting and trying to detain the immigrants that were presenting and doing their part. So they're doing
in court.
Yes.
So they're showing
complying.
Right, exactly. So it was very troubling to see that. But it was reassuring to see how our community banded together. Attorneys from all over the country were filing different claims and just making class petitions, so that way, we were able to fight this to get judges that were putting out orders to stop the presence of ICE agents. So even to this moment right now, they're no longer in the courtrooms. At least the numbers have decreased significantly. That's been great. So groups like ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, that has been very grateful. I've been very grateful for their work, what they're doing, helping the immigrant community and to help
warriors.
Absolutely, yes.
They get the boots on the ground. I love ACLU, all those nonprofits. Amica. They also do a lot of nonprofit work, attorneys just fighting these cases, trying to stop. For example, with the TPS, which Daliana mentioned, the Haitian TPS was supposed to end in February of this year. And I remember in one of the first things back in February, they were talking about they were going to end Haitian TPS at 12 months instead of 18 months. They wanted to end it in August. But there was a nonprofit organization. I don't know if it's the Haitian Bridge Alliance, along with other organizations, National TPS Alliance. They fought to stop that. So basically, they weren't able to stop Haitian TPS in August. So it still continues until February. But you have you realize that there are people that are really willing to stand up and fight. So it's not as easy as they thought it was going to be, because there are people that are kind of pushing back against them. So I love to see that. And of course, it helps us immigration attorneys. So we're 100% behind all of these groups, nonprofits that are working hard, on the border, on the ground, helping immigrants 100%.
Yes,
So
and they're very fast too. Like
Yeah.
the moment the new law, new regulation comes up, they're ready. They're ready to sue the
yes,
government. So
al otro lado también. I forgot about
yes,
that one. Al
Yeah.
otro
yeah.
lado means the other side of the border. There's one. They're always suing the government. So I got to big a shout out to them because I know somebody who works for them. So they are always fighting. So yes, 100% for that one. So the other thing is, I don't know if you remember the gift we got on Independence Day, July 4th, the big ugly bill.
Yes, absolutely. I was going to say back to fees when you mentioned that
Yeah.
before.
So the big ugly bill, like tell me about that, like because that kind of threw a lot of people off with the fees.
Mhm.
So that for especially for our clients, the asylum fees. So
Yes.
like tell me about that because I remember it was crazy. We were like, what? Like we're gonna file the fees.
Well, yeah, it was crazy because it's also something unprecedented because
Mhm.
we have fees for an application that's 100% humanitarian. So
Yes.
there's people who are fleeing their countries, their home countries. They don't have much opportunities, much resources, and they have to. Well, in the case of asylum applications, they now have to pay a fee, $100 fee for their application, and then they have to pay $100 each year. Their application is pending, and that's
Yep.
the pending time is out of their is out of their reach.
Mhm.
It's not their
Yeah.
fault, right? Because it's
No.
the administration who is deciding on the asylum claim, and we
Mhm.
know there are not enough judges, there are not enough asylum officers at USCIS. So
Mhm.
this was crazy, and also it's affecting a huge amount of the of I think most of the immigrant community that comes to the US seeking
Yeah.
safety,
Yeah.
because they're
Mhm.
fleeing for danger in their home countries. And not only then the children, because they're also children coming through the border fleeing
Mhm.
persecution. How are
Mhm.
you going to ask a child to pay $100 for their asylum application? So
Yes.
everything went up, and also for the juvenile status, the special
Mhm.
juvenile status, they
They took away
charge
the work
now.
permits.
Right.
They took away the work
Yes,
permits. So I mean, that was another thing that was like, oh my God. So for those who don't know, when you come here as a minor and you are, if the juvenile court adjudicates you as an unaccompanied minor, and you can eventually get special immigrant juvenile, which eventually you might be able to get a green card through that process. But what happened is the process is so long. Sometimes people will be here for 4 years waiting to get their green card. So they came here as a child. They have no direct parent here that can take care of them, and they get this adjudication in the process.
even to
So
apply for the green card.
they could, to apply for the green card. So you already got
Mhm.
approved for the special immigrant juvenile. You are waiting 4 years to get your green card. So you were kind of in limbo. One of the things the Biden administration did is they allowed these kids to get a work permit. And it was
Mhm.
kind of like a DACA type of work permit,
Yeah,
deferred
they had
action.
a deferred
And
action. Yes.
yeah. And that was one of the first things they're like, nope. So all these kids, if they want to, maybe they're in high school, they want to get a job at McDonald's or something to support themselves, or at the mall, they can't get work permits anymore. And they have to wait until, and I had even heard a suggestion of like sending them back to their country, let them wait until the 4 years in their country.
Crazy.
So,
Exactly.
so that's another thing that it was like gone. That I think any type of thing that made it easier for immigrants was gone, and even children. So that was hard. And the other thing, speaking about the nonprofits, one of the things that they did was take away funding from the nonprofits.
Mhm.
So remember, a lot of those nonprofits that we just mentioned actually represent unaccompanied minors. They represent kids when they go to court, and these kids don't have money to pay, so they go to the NGO, and the nonprofit goes with them to court. Now, many of them are going to court without an attorney, because if they can't afford to pay an attorney and they can't afford to get a nonprofit to have free attorneys, people they say to me, well, don't you have a right to an attorney? I'm like, that applies for citizens.
Right.
That citizens have the right to get a public defender if you're in criminal court. But since immigration is not first of all, immigration technically is not really criminal. It's supposed to be like a civil offense. But second of all, you're not a U.S. citizen. So no, you don't have a right. And I had a client who was like incomprehensible to me. He was from England. And he was like, what do you mean? Like people, when they get detained, they don't get an attorney? I said, no, because the United States says you're an immigrant. So you don't have the same rights as someone who's a U.S. citizen. So so a lot of these kids may have to just go to court without an attorney. And you see these videos of kids going like 4 or 5 years old, and it's not a fake thing. It actually can happen. So,
yes. And Diane, circling back to the the special juvenile status, there was a district judge stay. A district judge issued a stay of the rescission of the policy to
thank God. Thank
to
God.
have the deferred action. I think that happened in November, mid-November this year.
Okay.
So
well, that's good.
I think as of right now, they still can apply for the employment authorization document, but I'm sure the government is fighting for it, because even if you go to the USCIS website, they have the note saying that they disagree, that USCIS strongly disagree with the district judge's order. I mean, they have to comply. So what we were talking about, the check and balances are still working, at the very least.
Yes, and like you said, like our federal district court judges, they've been stepping in and they've been very helpful. So they've been the ones that, regardless of what the administration has been trying to put out and any injustices that they have been going forward with, like you said, Daliana, the checks and balances have just been working in place and just helping to put out these stays to make it so that, okay, no, this has to go through the proper channel. It has to go through the proper procedures before it goes into effect. And
exactly,
here, so these our federal district court judges, they've been stepping in. They've been angels on the battlefield and helping out.
Yes.
And we're just forever grateful for the federal district court judges.
100%. I mean, it's I think another thing we have to talk about that really is affecting immigrants, but it's this is what I was talking about, the pushback. They're not making it easy for them, and that's good. The federal judges, the nonprofits, so it's not going to be as easy as they thought it was going to be. But there are certain things that's kind of beyond the judge's control that is 100% under USCIS or the government, and that I would like to talk about is employment authorizations. Yes. So I knew they were going to do something with employment authorizations, because that is the easiest way to screw over immigrants. Because if they don't have an employment authorization, they can't work, they can't pay their bills. So I would say there's two major changes that happened with the employment authorization this year. I don't know if you guys want to talk about it or you want me to talk about it, but it's two big things that I think surprised everybody. Although, as I said, I was not surprised. You
were expecting the worst of the worst. Right. Nothing will surprise you anymore under this administration.
Exactly.
But yeah, like this year, October 30th, that DHS, they ended the automatic extension of certain employment authorization documents. Previously, if an applicant were to renew their work permit, they could continue working for up to 540 days while USCIS processes their case. But now, unfortunately, many workers must wait for the approval before continuing employment. And that is just, it's an unease that comes with that, because there was a certain peace of mind that you would get, even know that, all right, I get this automatic extension and I continue to work, continue to be able to contribute to society, but now it's taken away from them. And again, that's a process that, it was very much so, like you said, the community depended upon it so that they can take care of themselves, take care of their families, here and abroad. Because we have a lot of clients that they may be just part of their family that's here, so they're still taking care of
sending money back home.
Yeah, and
now you're take care of their families.
Yeah, you're cutting them off at the knees, so you're making it very difficult for them to support themselves. And the thing that is very important to remember is that the immigrant community, they're willing participants of our economy. They want to contribute to the economy and they want to work. They want to do, they want to be contributing members. So to just take away the safety nets that they would have, the provisions that were in place for them, taking away EADs. It's very disheartening, and it makes it very difficult. And it's going to have trickle-down effects that not just affect immigration law specifically, but it's going to affect the economy and other areas of our society.
And the second thing that they did, well, Daliana, I don't know if you want to talk about that, was the extension is one thing, but what happened just now? Like, what was it? Last month, we got another thing with the EADs. Go ahead, Daliana.
Are you talking about the change in the time? Yes, because that's something, I guess you were expecting it too. You weren't surprised about it, but under the previous administration, our clients were receiving their employment authorization that was valid for 5 years, but now during this administration, it's going to be valid only for 18 months. And it really changes their lives because the fees increased for renewing their employment authorization. So they want to file for renew their employment authorization. It's taking longer processing times. So by the time they receive their new employment authorization, it's already been a year or
and they didn't get a letter of extension. They didn't get a letter extending so there's going to be a time when people are going to fall not out of status, but basically they're going to be without a work permit, because if you're not going to issue the extension letter, even if they file on time, and you're making the time for them to have the work permit valid shorter, there's going to be some people that are going to have a time where their work permit is not valid. And maybe that's the point, maybe that's the point, so that it makes it easier for ICE to take people if their employment authorization expired. Maybe that's the point, because, like they say, sometimes the cruelty is the point in this situation. But that's basically what they're doing. And a lot of people are really upset. And I think this is going to affect the business community more than people think so, because a lot of people work that are immigrants. And this is the lie. The big lie is that, like, immigrants don't contribute. And immigrants are always taking, getting free medical care. First of all, IRS has stated 96 billion, I think it is, that immigrants contribute in taxes. And many of these immigrants do not get free medical care because they can't, because the Medicare, Medicaid is only really for U.S. citizens. So if you're not a U.S. citizen, you can't get free Medicare. You can't get Medicaid, all of those free things, that SNAP benefits, and you can't really get that. So that's just a lie that's been propaganded to the masses to make people think. But the reality is immigrants contribute more than they actually get. And that's always actually been the case in the United States. Every wave of immigrant that has come in, the Italians, the Irish, they've always contributed a lot with the hope of eventually becoming U.S. citizens and realizing, what they call the American dream. And this is just the lie that's been propagated. But unfortunately, it's going to harm businesses, because I think businesses are going to lose employees that are good employees and good workers that they need. So
exactly. And even if they applied for these benefits from the government, they risk being considered a public charge. And then when they eventually file for an adjustment of status to get their green card, then it could be denied because they access these benefits. So they don't really do it because most of the immigrants, they want to pursue a legal status, a permanent status in this country. So accessing these benefits it's usually doesn't help them at all.
Yeah, I've had clients tell me, like, I don't want to get Obamacare, and I don't want to, be part of the ACA, Affordable Care Act, because I don't want to become a public charge. And I try to tell them, like, your Obamacare is not the same as Medicare, Medicaid, the stuff, because in reality, you are paying out of pocket. The difference is usually with Obamacare, with the subsidies, you may pay less than you would without the Obamacare subsidies, but you're paying. So that's not considered a public benefit because you're paying out of pocket for that. But even that, they're like, no, I don't want to, because I don't want to, like, eventually one day I want to get my green card, and I don't want that to be held against me. But the big difference between Trump number one and Trump 2.0 that we have now is that the public charge, I remember when he did the public charge, he added a new form to the adjustment of status. And with that new form, it said that if you, if at any point you had received any type of help from the government, even if it was for small increments of time, like 3 months here, you got maybe some type of help, you know, and then 3 months there, you got some type of help. When you are going to get your green card, if it accumulated to 1 year, then they could deny you, right? But now, like just this month, it came out that they want to change that to say, if at any point you received any type of benefit, then you are barred for life from getting a green card. That just came out like this week. So that's something that they want to start implementing, not even like accumulating like 1 year, if you've gotten it 2 months here, 1 month there. No. And that was something that the Biden administration had changed when they, you know, came in. But now they're going back to even like a stricter form, like any time in your lifetime, if you ever ask anybody for help, you are barred. And it's so, I think, just unrealistic, because everybody may fall on hard times at one point. So now with the new public charge doctrine, supposedly doctrine, it says that you, at any point in your life, if you ask for any type of help, you can be denied a green card. So I think that what I was saying is, I think that that's disingenuous, because I think everybody at one point can fall on hard times.
Right.
You can have a good job, you can have a college education, and there might be a moment where you lost your job and you're on unemployment and you need help. I think I read somewhere a while back that most Americans are just maybe like 2 paychecks away from being homeless. Yeah. Many people have enough money in the bank to survive, but if they lose their job for like maybe a month or 2, they could easily not be able to afford their, you know, bills. So I think that we shouldn't hold that against, but that's just my opinion. Who am I? What can you say?
Yeah,
but you know, I'm 100% sure that all these people at one point have fallen on hard times. So I don't think that we should hold immigrants to a standard that is much higher than the average person. So, but
and the regulation also said like it was a 5-year bar, the public charge. So it's supposed like after 5 years, you should be able to file for the adjustment of status if you were actually considered a public charge. So let's see how this new regulation develops. Hopefully they don't get to actually like, work on it.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully. So let's talk a little bit about ICE. So I think, like, to me, one of the biggest changes that came with ICE is the stay of removal. And I remember when you applied for a stay of removal, so the stay of removal is usually like after your client, let's say they lost their case, and technically they should be getting deported. But let's say they have extenuating circumstances. They have a wife, kids that are U.S. citizen, and they depend on them. Sometimes you could go to ICE and ask for a stay of removal, asking them to kind of pause and don't remove this person. And if the person didn't have a criminal background, maybe they lost their case, but they were not a criminal, they were a good person, had never been in trouble, ICE may approve a stay of removal for up to a year. And you could go back yearly and renew this. I remember this one guy, it was a really sweet man. I think he was from Honduras, never got into trouble. All he did was work and go home, work and go home. And he had been here for 10 years under a stay of removal, never had problems. And then this administration came in and was like, he went into his regular appointment. They were like, you're being detained. And they just tried to deport him like immediately. And he did get deported. I think the officer didn't detain him immediately. The officer gave him time to buy his own ticket to leave. But he was kind of like, well, I've been here for 10 years, I've never been in trouble. But it was like, no, like now they don't care. So they've changed the stay of removal, and now the officers at ICE cannot even give a stay of removal for 1 year. They only have to give it for 6 months. So even if you get your stay of removal approved, you got to go back every 6 months.
Yes.
So you might go back again, and then you get a different officer, and the different officer is like, nope, you're getting deported. So
exactly.
That was a big surprise to me, because I said, wow, you know, you're not even going to give the person like a year to just have a little bit of peace. There's this tension all the time, like, okay, I got to go back. I don't know if they're going to detain me. And a lot of our clients are having that feeling when they have their regular ICE appointment. They haven't committed a crime. They're waiting for their court date, and they don't know if they're going to get detained. And I think it's because of this quota that they put on the ICE officers, where they feel like they need to have a certain number of, I think it's 3,000 per day that they wanted to deport. But quotas are so bad, because if you start doing quotas, now you're not even looking at the person as a human being. You're looking at them as a number. Well, I need to meet this quota. Not do they merit being deported? Do they have a case pending that they shouldn't be deported? Like, no, but I need to meet my quota. So I think that that's just horrible.
Exactly.
You know, the quotas.
Yes, and they're not even, as you were saying, our clients can go to an appointment one day, and then the next check-in appointment is another officer, and they sometimes may not review the case thoroughly. And if you had a previous deportation order, let's say that it was vacated because the judge found that the credible fear determination was approved, right? They wouldn't even look into it, and they will just say, oh, you have a deportation order. And there are issues also with a lot of immigrants who didn't get their NTAs. NTAs are the notice of appear. They didn't get those documents docketed in the court. So they weren't under the court's jurisdiction, but they entered without inspection. So they should have been under the court's jurisdiction.
Yes.
They were filing under USCIS because they didn't have anywhere to file for their asylum application. But because they were supposed to be under the court's jurisdiction, the ICE officers, they're not seeing any application pending, and they could easily just detain them and say, oh, you don't have an application pending and you have a previous deportation order, so you're just going to be detained. And that's just very unfair, because
and I think it's also part of inexperience too, because you know how they increase the number of ICE officers, but there's a lot of new young officers that don't even know like the process, the law, and as much. So it's much easier for you to get some young guy who just started and he doesn't really know, and he's like, oh yeah, you had a deportation. But once you win your credible fear interview and the judge, or you win your credible fear interview appeal, let's say you got the interview denied, but the judge approved it and said, okay, I see you have a good case, then that deportation should be vacated. But they might just see the word deportation and say, oh yeah, you still have a deportation. So that is 100% true. Just that increase of people coming into ICE that maybe don't know. I think that's a big deal. And I just want to say one more thing about quotas, because I just heard this news today about the quotas for USCIS denaturalization.
Oh man.
So that's another thing. Carl, I know we had a change. Well, Diana was going to mention that about the naturalization. I feel like we need to address this, because there's a lot of people who already have their green card, and they might think like, oh, I'm good, I'm going to get my naturalization. But now even those people are in trouble. So go ahead, Daliana.
Yes. Well, the major change on the naturalization application is the civics test. So in order for a person an immigrant to naturalize and get the U.S. citizenship, they have to comply with the English test and a civics test. So previously, people who filed for their naturalization application before October 2025, they get to do the civics test as it was stated since 2008, which is they had to study 100 questions, and the officer would ask 10 questions, and they had to at least answer 6 out of 10 good answer correct. But now they have to study a little more, because they changed it from 100 questions to 128 questions. And now the immigration officer will ask 20 questions. And I believe they need to have correct like 12 out of 20
Mhm.
Let me double check.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
12 out of 20 questions. So it's
You're right.
kind of difficult. Yes, it's changed, especially for people who are maybe older, but they don't qualify for an exemption to the civics test,
Mhm.
and maybe their English skills are not as
Yeah, as good as
good.
fluent and stuff. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, so that actually sets like a challenge for them,
yeah,
and people have to study a little more, and also background checks are like racing. Of course, they're like reviewing every
mhm,
application very like thoroughly. And we
yeah.
can talk about also the ban to the 39 countries now,
Yes.
um
Yeah.
after we stop talking about the naturalization, because that comes with this. 'Cause, you
Mhm.
mentioned earlier, Diane, that they're even stopping the naturalization ceremonies for people that are from these countries, from the
Yep.
list.
Exactly.
So this is unprecedented. Like, we
Yeah.
haven't seen this before, and it's challenging because there are a lot of immigrants who deserve or have been enough time in this country, and they don't have a criminal record. They pass their civics test, their English test. They have
Yeah.
done everything correct, but because they're citizens of this list of banned countries,
Mhm.
then they
Mhm.
won't be able to get their applications approved on time. So this,
Exactly. Exactly. And I think the goal for every immigrant eventually is, if they come to the United States, hopefully is to get to the point of naturalization. They want to become a US citizen, do their oath. But yeah, I heard they were taking people out of their oath ceremonies because they were from these 39 countries, which is, so embarrassing. Imagining you're there and you're like, I pledge allegiance, or I swear my oath, and then they're like, okay, sorry, you need to leave. So that's a really bad thing to happen to somebody. But speaking of that, they're talking about now denaturalization. So now imagine you already became a US citizen, you got your passport, and then they want to take away citizenship from you. Like, that's one of the things this administration has been talking about for a long time. I wasn't really paying too much attention to it because it is very hard to actually take away citizenship from someone. You have to really prove that, usually like something horrible. Either they committed fraud to get their citizenship, or it's like they're like committed treason, they're like a spy or something. So it's
Mhm.
not really easy to take away citizenship. Now the issue is quotas. So the new thing that's coming out right now is that they want to give a quota not just to the ICE officers to deport people, but to USCIS officers to send a list of people that could be denaturalized. So usually it's very rare to have someone be denaturalized, and they want the quota to be something between 100 to 200 per month of people that USCIS has to send over, saying that these people may qualify for denaturalization, when normally it
wow.
could be like maybe 100 per like year, or maybe 5 years or something like that. It's like so few people that actually go through the process of denaturalization. It's like less than 100 a year. Very, very difficult. But if you're going to put a quota that they have to give you between 100 to 200, now you're forcing the officers to maybe even look for things that are not there because they need to make their quota. It's like when you're forcing the ICE officers, well, I need 3,000 immigrants to be deported a day. So now, of course, they're going to take, do anything that they really shouldn't be doing, like going into schools and going into churches because, well, I need to make my quota. And now it's not about checking to see if this person, they're not even looking at the person as an individual anymore. It's like a number. So I feel like that is going to be like more difficult. So now more and more people that think like, well, I'm good, I'm a naturalized US citizen, maybe you're not so good. So that's something that it's a lot of things. And I just have to make this correction before we continue. I did a live the other day and people were asking me like, oh, is it okay to travel internally? And I was like, yeah, because I know there's ICE officers in the international airports, but usually if you're traveling internally, ICE shouldn't really be checking, because Customs and Border Patrol, that's just it. Customs and Border Patrol, when you're coming into a port of entry, of course, you can get pulled to the side by ICE. But now TSA is working with ICE. So they said TSA is going to be giving information to ICE nowadays about their manifest lists on the planes, the plane manifest. So I don't even know if it's safe for me to tell my clients that they can travel internally anymore. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, honestly, I agree. It has been coming very unsafe for our clients to travel. Because it does seem like they're increasing the definition of borders. So like they're making it seem like state borders. So any border that you're crossing from North Carolina into Virginia, you know, New York into New Jersey, they're making it that their presence is known. It's around there. There have been reports showing that they're stopping buses. They're entering on buses. So making it difficult
Greyhound.
on Greyhound, you know, so it's just it is tough. It's a tough pill to swallow to know that, hey, you know, this has been an infringement now on your ability to travel. You know, we have loved ones all over the place. And a lot of the immigrants, they have loved ones all over the country as well. So they want to just go travel, especially with holiday times coming up. And it's a trap that they're pretty much setting because, again, it is holiday time, so they're expecting people to be moving about and going to different states. And if they're going to try and not go by plane, we'll catch them by train or by bus. And it's unfair to our immigrant community. But it's just, you know, we're asking everybody to be very prudent and just be mindful. You know, just you know, you might have to miss that one holiday gathering. You might have to miss that one birthday. You know. Yeah.
I'll talk to you on Zoom.
Right.
Yeah.
FaceTime.
We have the technology.
Yeah. Exactly. I totally agree. Because, and I think at the beginning of this trend of ICE going to the airports, we also saw they're coming into national airports, and it was registered, like there were specific airports where ICE had a high amount of presence, even though there were national airports, so CBP controllers shouldn't be there. So I agree with Carl and Diane. I don't think it will be safe for our clients or immigrants who have a pending status, or especially if they have entered without inspection to the US, or if they have overstayed their visas to travel on a plane nowadays. Like even a bus would be dangerous.
Even if they're, and the worst part is that even if they're in the process of trying to fix their status, because it used to be that you could say, well, okay, maybe this person overstayed, but they're married to a US citizen. They're in the process of fixing their status. They're going to get their green card. But now I don't even think that people like that are safe. That you may be in the process of fixing. Maybe you have an asylum pending. You enter through the border, but you applied for asylum. Your case is pending. So technically you should be protected, but even that, I wouldn't say that they are like safe anymore, you know? Oh, Marjorie's calling. All right, I think we got to go to the other to the scrum. So because Carlos came in, they want to talk to us, so we're gonna have to like wrap this up. So
let's wrap with the good news.
Okay, let's wrap with the good news. So I'll tell Marjorie that we're coming, because she's calling me. Carlos is calling me. Let me just tell them, give me 5 minutes. We're going to close this meeting. Okay. Tell them we're coming from Scrum. Okay. So let's wrap it up. Marjorie says, te necesito, Diane. Oh my God. Estamos esperando. Okay. I'm coming. All right, so let's close this up. So we want to end the year on some happy notes. So do you guys want to talk about some good cases, you know, cases that we have gotten a positive result or we've won before we close, because we don't want to only talk about bad things. There's still good things happening in this world. You know, usually if you keep thinking positive things will happen. And I think that's what we need to focus on. Even though you hear all these horrible things, we need to still continue to be positive. So let's end on a positive note and talk about what good things have happened this year. Let's talk about good news. Good news.
Yes, I think not everything is lost. So we have won some cases this year under this administration. So it is not impossible. I have one of our clients. He was claiming asylum from Ecuador. He was a member of the LGBTQ community, and he won his asylum this year. He had a very solid case, but we won, right? So we also won an adjustment of status for one of our Haitian clients, and she has been in the U.S. her entire life, but she just went through a rough path on the immigration side, because many immigrants come to the U.S. as children, and they don't really, it's not under their control what their immigration status is. But fortunately for our client, her adjustment of status was approved. She's able to stay happily with her family, her husband and her son. So not everything's lost. We have won some cases. Carl, do you want to share some of yours?
Oh, yes. And even I think you touched on it a little bit at the beginning, Diane. You know, we've had cases where there were some criminal background, some criminal involvement, where even that we were able to get the criminal side that handled and that taken away, and to continue with adjustment of status and to continue with the immigration process and to get that one even under this administration. So like you said, Daliana, hope is not all lost. You know, it's just to continue to fight, just to stay in. We've gotten asylum interviews that we've gone that, although it may still be pending, but it was just great feedback coming from the officers, seeing that they did not initially deny, and we're not getting RFEs or the notice of intent to deny issued as much, but it's just you know what, we're gonna get back to you, and that's still a great sign for us. It keeps us hopeful that an approval is coming, and so that there is a chance that under this administration, we're still going to get approvals. We're still going to get yeses from the courts and from USCIS.
Yes. I just want to mention one last thing we didn't mention at the beginning, and it was the prosecutorial discretion that ended up under this administration, that we could no longer exchange contact with the prosecutor to maybe dismiss a case, so request to close it administratively. However, I wanted to end in a good note that we have seen some of our cases that have been administratively closed because we have filed some of the motions, because our clients have an alternative possibility of relief, right? So it's not done. Like, we can still do it. We can still fight for it. We have had cases reopened after a deportation order was set. So and all this has happened during this year. So we still if we work hard, we can still have good results on the immigration.
And even with the asylum, it's definitely, I would say 100% harder to win an asylum under this administration. You have to really come prepared with your evidence, with your arguments. It's very, very hard, but it's not impossible, because we have won some asylum cases this year. Not as many as we won last year, but definitely we still are continuing to win cases. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you so much for doing our Claxton Law end of year wrap 2025. Hopefully 2026 is much better.
See you in 2026.
All right. Let's go to Scrum. They're calling us. See you later. Bye.
Bye.